Today I'm going to show you how you can make slime that you can display with your slime pit. It costs about $3 for some common household items and a little bit of time. Just be careful if you try it because it involves heating up some hot glue and it could burn you. But I'm going to show you how to color it and make it the right texture and everything, and how to make it without messing up any figures or your playset. So stay tuned and we'll have a little MOTU DIY. Well, today I'm going to show you how to make some fake molded Masters of the Universe slime. I'm going to try to make it look like it would with the Masters of the Universe Origins line with the Cobra Con, instead of having the actual play features where you squirt the head and it squirts water out. It looks like he's got like a little plastic thing that goes in his mouth like he's spraying. I was going to do the same kind of idea. Instead, it's hard to display actual slime, but if you can make some that's kind of molded, you can display your slime pit and make it look like it belongs in the Origins line. So we're going to do it with a few simple household ingredients. We're going to use, what you're going to need is crystal clear glue sticks, and you're going to need a bowl to melt it in your microwave. You're going to need something to cut the glue sticks. They'll make them melt a little better if they're smaller pieces. You're going to need something to stir some paint up in and mix it up. And you're going to need, I got apple barrel. These are about 50 something cents at Walmart. I got the glossy. I got bright green and dandelion yellow gloss. And it doesn't take much. It's just a little bit just to tint the glue. And then you're going to need baking soda and some aluminum foil. So let's get started. First of all, you want to pretty much just pick you a figure you want to use. I'm using a basic He-Man because they're pretty easy to come by. If I were to mess it up, it shouldn't mess him up though. I've actually practiced to get this method down a little bit. I had the idea and it took me a few attempts to get it right. So it should be pretty safe to what I'm going to show you. We're going to protect everything with aluminum foil. So you want to disassemble your Snake Mountain. Just be careful not to break it as you pop it apart. But I went ahead and took the claw out just to get it out of the way. And you're not going to need this top part, so just kind of push in on the little thing on the eyeball and take off the top. You don't need it right now. So basically what you're going to need is this, the base, the back, and the tilted bottom part. And then a figure. So we're going to protect everything. I found the easiest way is to do it individually. So I'm going to like wrap his head by itself. And then I'm going to kind of put him in the pose I think he would be in if he was like, slime's pouring over me. So about like that probably. I'm going to do each arm individually. And the tighter you can get this, the more it'll kind of conform. If you have a particular figure you're going to display, you can make it pretty much conform just around them perfectly almost. I don't really care if it's perfectly conformed to the figure, because if you want to switch it out, they give you more options. So okay, and we're going to do his torso. It might be actually easier to take his head off. And you probably won't even get it down to the legs unless you just really want to cover them good. But if you do, go ahead and cover the legs if you're worried about you might mess them up. I don't think it'll... We're going to use baking powder to keep it from sticking to the aluminum foil. And I don't think it'll... Even if you didn't cover the legs completely, you probably get enough baking soda on there that it'd probably still be safe. But we'll go ahead and wrap it good just to be safe here. And I'm just kind of pulling this off the bottom so his feet will stand flat. So. Okay, so he looks pretty well covered. I'll put his head back on. So there's our figure pretty much. Now what I'm also going to do is put a aluminum foil in this to protect this. I want this to conform as tightly to this as I can. That way it holds it on there good and it looks like it's pouring more naturally. So let me get another piece of aluminum foil and we'll wrap this. Okay, when you wrap this, you don't want to wrap this part because if you make this too big, it won't snap back in here without possibly breaking it. So just leave this part unwrapped. You want to start with the middle. Find you like the middle of your aluminum foil and press it down in the middle. Really try to form it good around the teeth as good as you can. It don't have to be perfect, but the better you can get it, the more it'll conform, almost like a retainer. One of those clear retainers. And again, all this is doing is protecting the playset. Technically, you could do this without the aluminum foil, because the baking soda should protect it from sticking enough until you can get it off, and it should come off pretty easily after that. But being a vintage old playset, I want to make sure I don't mess it up. So. Alright, make sure you don't have any holes that you ripped or anything like that. And then just really work around those teeth. That's probably the only part that really matters. And it don't have to be perfect, just enough that it'll really kind of, with that glue, is going to mold on there good, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, and then you're going to pop this back on. And there's that. The rest is pretty easy. You don't have to be like conformed to it. It's just kind of like a drop cloth. So getting a pretty good size piece. And I'm going to pop this back off. Make a hole here so our little tabs can stick through. And that pretty much hold it in place. This part you might want to kind of push down in there just to see where your figure is going to be standing and stuff. Okay, and then I don't have aluminum foil on this part. I popped a hole in that, so it's just going to be just like it was before. There we go. Let's see if you can. So shiny, it's hard to tell what's what. Okay, then we're going to put our figure right here. We'll spread his legs out a little bit so he'll stand in about the right place. Alright, so I don't know if you can tell. It's so shiny, it's all like camouflage. But you got your teeth. Your jaw, that's where you're going to pour the hot glue, just like it's slime, and let it dribble down on him. So we got this set up. Now we're going to get our slime ready. Now what you want to do is get your, make sure your paint's not settled or anything. I just use this, so it should be okay, but you're only going to need a little bit of the green because it's darker. So you probably need about, it doesn't really matter. You just want to have a, you don't need much. That's probably all you need. And then you're just going, for that much, you probably just want like 1 drop of the green. That's probably too much. I'll probably put some more yellow in there. I got this old brush. I'm going to use the end of it to stir it. Yeah, that's too much. Like I said, the green's darker, so it don't take a whole lot. I'm going to put a little bit more yellow. You just kind of play with it until you get it right. And you can make it whatever color you want. You can make purple if you want to do something for the real Ghostbusters stuff. You make it look like it's on the old real Ghostbusters toys or something. Alright, that looks about right, I think. That might be a little too yellow. I'm going to put it just a little bit. I'm going to put it on my brush on my stick here so I don't overdo it again. That's probably too much, so let me get a little bit off. Okay. See how that looks. I think that'll be about right. Just want to have that good slimy color. And when we get to doing this, you're not going to need much of this. We're basically just going to stick the end of our stick, get a little bit on there, stick the end of our stick down in the glue when it's hot, and then stir it all up. So it takes a really little amount of this. But we got that ready. And I'm going to go ahead and do our baking soda. So, because when we do the hot glue, we're going to be limited on time before it starts getting hard again. So I'm just really going to freely douse all this stuff with some baking soda. You can't have too much because it's all going to wash off in the end. Baking soda is going to dissolve when we get done and it'll be gone. So the more you put, the less likely it's going to stick to the aluminum foil. If it sticks to the aluminum foil, it's probably going to not come off the aluminum foil. The aluminum foil will be on the back side, but the way I'm trying to do it this time is to make it kind of clear so you'll actually see the aluminum foil. If you put enough color in the paint, color paint and stuff to color the glue, you probably wouldn't see the aluminum foil on the back side if it is. If it is stuck, but I'm just kind of doing it like I'm getting a pan ready to make biscuits or something. I don't want it to stick, so kind of doing it like it's flour, but it's baking soda. And I'm not worried about certain areas because the slime's not going to get to certain areas from my previous attempt at this. So I know that. So I just want it anywhere the slime might actually get to and try to stick. This is probably the messiest part. Messier than the glue even. But the glue's hotter and it can hurt you, so make sure you get you some gloves or something, so if it does stick to you, it'll stick to your gloves, not your skin, because I learned that the hard way. I melted the end of my finger off the other day. I was using the glue gun. I got an industrial glue gun, and it's like, it gets really hot. I don't think it gets as hot in the microwave as it does with that gun I have. Like I said, it's going to be all covered with baking soda, but this is all going to wash right off. Most of it's going to be on aluminum foil, but you can just run everything under the faucet when you get done, and it should be fine. Alright, and I'm going to go around the teeth one more time, and in here, get this snap back in place up here. Alright, as you can see, I got a pretty good bit of residue in here, but it's alright. Because the glue will stick to it, but then when you dissolve it, after you rinse the glue off after it hardens, it won't be there. Alright, so I'm going to go get some baking soda off my hands, but maybe you can see all that. I got some in my glue, my paint. It's alright. Okay. So now we're ready to melt our glue. We're probably going to need about 2 or 3 of these glue sticks. These are long ones. Let's see. Crystal clear, let's see how long? 10 inch. These are 10 inch ones. Probably about 2 of these would be enough. But you might need 3. We'll wipe the baking soda off of it. Got a little residue on there. You might want to move those out of the way before you start sprinkling baking soda. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is get all the baking soda off. Okay. I am going to snip these into small segments. You can use a box cutter or scissors or whatever you got. But this just the smaller the pieces are, the faster they'll melt in the microwave. So it just helps a little bit. And I haven't tried this yet, but I thought about trying to make some of the like an orangish red and doing like a lava waterfall for my Snake Mountain playset. I've seen people do that, like where the fold is for the playset on the outside behind the little bridge, and it looks really good. But I think they use like 3D printing clear resin or something. I thought I'd try it with this. I hadn't tried that yet, so if I figure that out, I'll do a video on that. Okay, so you have your all your glue here in your bowl. You want something just like a paper bowl, something disposable, and we're gonna stick that in the microwave for about 4 or 5 minutes. It depends on your microwave. I got an old microwave, so probably about 4 or 5 minutes, and yours might do it in about 3. And you just want to make sure it's all like melted, and when you stir it, it'll be like a solid, like one consistency. So let's go do that. So like I said, this is an old microwave I have. I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to put a paper towel on it just so I can kind of keep down any residue that might come off of it. I didn't notice anything the other day when I did it, but I do heat my coffee up in this one and stuff, so I don't have stuff on there, but I didn't notice any kind of film or anything on there the other day when I was doing it. Alright, so I am setting this for 5 minutes on my microwave. And like I said, I know other microwaves that probably wouldn't take about 2 minutes, so it just depends. Just kind of look at it, and I'm going to re-stir up my paint and get it ready to tint the glue. And also, you're going to need something to stir with. Like these are kind of short. These are like little wooden ice cream spoons. If you had like a longer, like a tongue depressor or something, that'd probably be better. Just something you can throw out when you're done. But this is what I got. So just to be safe, since those are kind of short, I'm going to put on a second pair of gloves just to kind of give myself a little extra layer of protection there. And I think that'll be fine if I get some on me. That way it won't melt my skin again. Okay, so we'll speed through this part. Okay, so I'm going to look at it. It's about halfway on the time. It's starting to melt pretty good. I'm going to stir it a little bit and try to get some of those chunks down. Ooh, it's pretty hot. Paper's hot. I didn't put paper towel on it before. Maybe it held more heat in or something. Alright, as you can see, it's starting to get like a consistency there. It's still got some chunks. I'm going to go ahead and put a little color in here. And that's about all you need, just a little, just enough to tint it with. And stir it some more with the wood spoon, get it all even. And I try to scrape it all the way from the sides before I stick it back in for the rest of the time. It's getting pretty consistent there, but we're going to do it for about another, probably another minute. It's starting to look like ectoplasm kind of tint, like snot. Except it's going to harden that way. And it should look pretty good. The one I did before, I put way too much paint in it and you couldn't see through it. It was just like a big old green chunk. I'll show it to you here. I wanted to try to make it more clear like the original slime looked, so. Alright, it's looking pretty good. I'm going to take it back over to our other area. I think it's going to be ready to pour. I actually have my door open. It's a little cool today, so that was sorted by design. You don't have good ventilation. I don't know if this would put off fumes. I don't think anything dangerous anymore than using a glue gun or paint, but just in case. And please take precautions not to burn yourself. Please have an adult supervise if you are a kid watching this. This channel is for adults, but I know you can't really control that sometimes. But if you're a kid, please get an adult to help you. If you're an adult, please be careful. Alright, and we're just going to pour this in just like it's slime. Now I'm going to try not to get the baking soda to stick to it before it pours down. So I'm going to pour it right on the lip. I want that to sort of land on the baking soda, not drag it. And you can just let it ooze over them just like it's slime. And just take your time, because if you go too fast, it'll drip down too far and not go where you want it. Once I get it to start going from the teeth to the head, I try to put a little bit more over here, just so it kind of has more oozing over the side look. And you have to work pretty fast. If you let it start getting hard, it'll start having like little stringy looks instead of like big chunky oozy look. Alright, so that's pretty good, I think. I'm going to let it drip over his shoulder. And try to get some to go down the arm. I want to kind of go around his head a little bit so you can see his face. Uh-oh. We don't want that to happen. Alright. And try to get some going on the other side. It's already starting to get hard, so I got to work fast. I want it to go down the other side of his arm and head, like that. And I still want it to come down the middle, so there we go. You will have some strings, but just try to avoid having any more strings than you have to. And this is starting to solidify, so I'm going to go stick it back in the microwave for a little bit. That's a good thing about it, you can reheat it. And it'll melt again. I'm just going to stick my spoon, my wooden spoon in there with it. Alright, while that's going, I'm going to try to just kind of guide this a little bit. Get some of these strings off. I don't really want the strings, but I got a good little glob here. I like that, so I want to keep that. If you get some, if you pull on the string like that, it'll kind of pull it to a point, and that's what you want. You want it to look like it's kind of about to drip, like that. And we can snip it when it gets hard to shape it a little bit. I'll show you that. But I like this. It's looking like it's really dripping down him good. We'll clean off these strings. And we got a little bit more, so let's go get it. Alright, so this should be good and melted again. I got some strings I'm going to put in there with it. Those will melt again. Alright, let's see if we can finish this baby up. Alright, so I'm going to work on this side somewhere. I'm going to try to get a big glob on my spoon without any strings much, because this, I don't want to mess up what I already got going. So that's kind of the tricky part sometimes. But if you can get as much on there as you can, and then kind of guide it where you want it, and you'll just kind of follow the path. And no two of these will be alike. That's the one thing about it. It's just going to be what it is. But if you totally hate it, you can take the whole thing, put it back in the microwave, and try again. But maybe it might take you a couple tries to get the way you like it. And see how these strings are coming off here? I'm going to leave some of them, because this will bring that to kind of a point. Stay there. And that will, I can snip that later and it'll look like just a string of snot, slimy snot stuff coming off of him. When you every time you reheat this, it gets harder faster, it seems like. So I don't know if maybe it needs to go back in for the whole 3 minutes again. But we can try it and see. What I want to do is, I like this, and I need to get this to extend to there so it will hold that position. So I need a little bit more. Everything else looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm going to heat this up for about 3 minutes, see if we can get enough out of it just to extend this down to this and make that look like a nice string of slime hanging off his arm. I may have to mix up some more, but we'll try. I feel like I really got the texture of the color right this time. It's kind of translucent looking and looks actually like slime. I got it so thick before, it almost looked like wax, so I didn't like it. And I wanted it to look more slimy looking, and I think this is pulling it off. I want it to look wet, but it's not really wet. So I got glossy paint and clear, crystal clear glue sticks. So make sure you get the crystal clear. And like I said, these are the paints I got. I got indoor, outdoor gloss, bright green, and dandelion yellow. More yellow than green. The green just kind of tints it just enough to make it green. It don't take much. I tried doing just green before, and that's another thing. I think it was too green, so it made it look like wax. Let's go check on our glue that's melting. Okay, so I put it in for 3 more minutes, and it is looking good again. So you can reheat this as much as you need to. Just do it the full time each time, whatever amount of time that was. If it was 3 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever it took for it to get good and runny. All right, I think that's how I want that one. Maybe get a little bit more on this other arm. I think we'll be good. Now, the other thing is, you want it to be warm enough that it still will, when you get it on there, it'll still kind of settle. Otherwise, it'll start looking kind of clumpy and it looks like wax. So I'm just kind of getting it started here while it's still hot enough, and it should settle and start to drip like this one's doing over here. And like I said, these strings, I can use that, just let it kind of stick it to the aluminum foil down here, and I'll show you how to clean those up better. It's better than pulling them off sometimes while it's still dripping, because they'll mess up your slime texture. And I got a little bit more. I'm gonna see if I can. Nah, it's already getting too hard. I don't want to mess with it. I like it where it is, I think. I'm going to heat it one more time and put that on the backside teeth, because I got some left here. I want this to go a little further back in there. If you get some on the table, if you get it off before it gets too hard, it helps. I think it's looking pretty good though. It looks like slime has oozed over him. And like I said, these little strings, once they get hard enough, you can snap them off a little easier, and you can bring it to like a little point, like the slime is like, you know, dripping. And if you don't like the way that it's shaped, or if it's sticking out a weird angle or something when it does that, you can, or if it's too stringy for you, you can snip those off with some wire snippers. This one's a little too jutted out, so I'll probably trim it up. I'll show you how to do that in a minute though. This one looks good. It's like actually, and that's already like solidified almost. So it's gonna stay that way, and it's gonna look like it's dripping, but it's not. Okay, I don't think it actually took as long that time. I went ahead and pulled it out. I guess because there's not as much to heat up this time. But I'm gonna get it out really fast because it's not as liquidy as it was when I did the full time. And I'm just gonna paste that on the back side of his lower teeth there, just to make it a nice secure retainer. Dental retainer. That's probably pretty good. You won't really see this because of the teeth on the thing, but I would like that to be a little smoother. So what I might do is get my heat gun just to heat it up enough to let it kind of smooth out. But I don't know. We'll see what it looks like when we get all the flour off of it and stuff like that. I might want to heat that up a little bit. I'm not going to heat it up on here though, because it could damage the original, so I'll have to do it like put something else under there to kind of keep the form and do it. It might be more trouble than it's worth. All right, we're going to let that get good and hard, and I'm going to come back in a little bit, and it won't take long actually. Actually, I think it's good. Alright, so let's go ahead and take all this off. And as you see, that kept it from sticking. And I'm going to go stick all this under some cold water. Alright, I just brought it to the sink. I'm running some cold water over it just to make sure it's nice and hard before I try to pull it off. And that'll also make it come loose from the aluminum foil a little easier. You might have a little bit of aluminum foil stuck to it, but with the baking soda, it should peel right off pretty easily. It might take a minute or so working on it, but it shouldn't stick to the point you can't get it off. Just be careful not to break the part that oozes down, because that's the part that really gives it the effect that it's dripping. So you want to keep all these intact. So just be real careful with it, but the cold water should keep it shape as you get it pull loose. Alright, still got his head in there, but we'll get that in a minute. If you have a big piece of aluminum foil, try to work it away while it's big. Don't pull it off in little pieces to make it hard to get loose. Like this piece right here. Let's still pull them off in little pieces. Just try to pull off in one piece if you can. It'll be easier. And if you don't put the baking soda, you will not be able to get that aluminum foil off. So make sure you put the baking soda. Alright, let's see if we can get his head out of here. Head's going to be the trickiest part, the head hole. Alright. Anyway, it's kept its form. I am going to shape it up. We'll get the rest of this aluminum foil out of there. I might need to get some tweezers or something to get a grip on it, or some pliers. But let's go outside and we'll finish that. So as you can see, it makes a little bit of a mess when you're doing this, so you might want to put something down. If you got a silicone mat, that'd be awesome, because that would just totally not stick and nothing would stick to it, but it's up to you. Cellophane works good for glue not sticking to it too bad. The glue's not really the mess, so it's mostly like little pieces of aluminum foil and baking soda and all that. But I'm going to defoil my He-Man figure. And we'll go rinse all this stuff off again after we get all the aluminum foil off and reshape it the way we want. But for now, let's just go ahead and put him over here. And just gonna take this off now. Have to rinse all this off, like I said. Now, you might have some leftover baking soda in here. You can pour that in a cup for something later, like if you got a little place you keep some baking soda for when you're working on super glue projects, like I've shown you how to fortify your super glue. I keep this cup for my baking soda that I have left around, because it's still good. It's not dirty or anything. It just kept it from sticking to the aluminum foil. You may leave a layer of dust on stuff too. Like my cell phone has baking soda dust on it. So just keep in mind whenever you're messing with stuff like that, it gets in the air and settles on things. So you might not want to put your nice collectibles next to all this while you're doing it, just to keep the baking soda from making a big old dusty layer you have to dust off later. And this is actually a little wet now, so that'll keep it from flying in the air so much as I wipe it off. And this will just kind of pull loose once I get a hold of it. I don't have the same grip I used to. I crushed my hand between a tractor and a bush hog last fall. And it's hard to use these little pliers now. It hurts when I try to squeeze them and pull. I hate that, because I use pliers for everything. But it's getting better. Maybe it'll be completely better one day. Okay. Alright, let's go rinse it off again. I'm going to rinse it all off this time. Okay, I want to disassemble it and get it all off. Just rub on it until you don't feel anything slick on it. Baking soda kind of has like a little bit of a slick feeling on your hands when you get on there. It starts feeling like plastic without anything, like soap. It kind of feels like soap. Once you get it all off and don't feel like it's got soap on it or anything, you can lay it out to dry. Alright, and then we're going to do our slime. Now this one you want to get like every little piece, wipe it down really good. So that baking soda that melted to the glue will dissolve. And it will feel like a very flexible plastic, pretty much. Alright, once it feels kind of squeaky again, you're good. And just make sure you don't tear your little pieces hanging off when you do it. I would recommend using an old washcloth or something to dry this with. And again, when you're drying it, make sure you don't break your fine pieces. Just kind of pat it down good. Where you got a good place you can wipe it, but just on your fine pieces, just kind of pat it and dab it. Don't use a blow dryer on it to dry it. If you have a fan, you can set this stuff out to let it finish drying a little quicker, but like I said, it's a nice cool day today with a little breeze, so I'm right here by the garage door. It's going to finish drying pretty easily on its own. Just don't set this, if you're doing this on a hot day, don't set this in the sun to dry either. You don't want to dry this with any kind of heat or expose it to any kind of heat. And when you display it, you don't want to sit in front of a heater or anything like that. So as long as it doesn't get hot, it won't hurt anything. It'll be like plastic until it gets hot. Okay, so we got everything reassembled here. I'm going to put the little claw up and hold him in place. And I'm going to put our head back on here. Let's see how we did. I'm going to pop this off so we can see what we're doing. Alright, so we're going to, I see a few places I already know I want to snip up a little bit. So this one here for one. And so these little stringy things here, I'm going to snip them up, because anything that kind of gives the hint that it's hot glue kind of ruins the illusion. So these little stringy things that you get from hot glue, it's kind of a tail. So I'm going to get any of those little stringy pieces off. It's really stringy. The ones that just look like it's, you know, slime oozing, I'm okay with that. But anything that's really stringy, I'm getting rid of. That one's a little too stringy for my liking. I'm just going to see if I can trim it up to make it look more like a drip. Yeah, I think that might work. That looks like a little trail of slime kind of coming off there. I'm okay with that one. I'm not sure. I think I'm going to do this piece right here. And that one kind of juts out a little bit too much like super glue, so I'm going to trim that up. Also, that's the other thing, if it doesn't lay right, it kind of is also a tail. So any piece that looks like it's just not going the right direction with the flow of the slime would be going, you can kind of trim those up. Okay, I think that's pretty good. This part right here kind of doesn't flow the right way, so I'm going to trim it up. Okay, now it looks more like it running down. These are not the best snippers, but that's what I had on hand. And maybe this part right here. And this part right here is kind of going upwards, so I'm going to trim it up. Slime would not travel upwards. Alright, I think I got about all of it. There's a little piece right there. And like I said, this part up here is going to be up in the mouth. I'm going to trim it up a little bit, some of this kind of messiness here. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, we're going to put this on the edge of the jaw, like a retainer. And it's not going to fit perfect, but it'll fit good enough to hold it in place. And then, because we had the aluminum foil on there in between before. And we're going to put all this here. I had his arms out, so it's had to reposition him so that he looks like he's, you know, it makes sense. This part right here is kind of not working for me, so I'm going to work on it in a minute. I wasn't sure if it would or not, but it kind of looks like it doesn't belong there. So. Like I said, you want it to look like it's oozing naturally. Okay. And right here too. Anywhere it looks jagged, it's not going to look right because slime's not jagged. This is almost, but I'm going to let that slide. I think it's going to be alright. The way it goes over his chest. See a piece back here I missed. And right here on the back. Alright, let's try that. This part wouldn't normally stick up, but I don't think... No, I'm going to cut it. I don't like it. I was going to say I don't think you'll see it enough to tell, but you might. So. Anything that's going to give away the illusion, you want to get rid of. Even if you like it. If it's going to give away the illusion, it's not going to matter if you like it or not. So, it's just like video editing. If you might have worked hard on something and you don't want to cut it out of your movie, but if it's going to distract from the movie, do away with it. Alright, let's try this. I think it's getting there. I think that's good. See, string here. String here. And you might want to look at it again in all different angles of light and everything, just to see if you missed anything. But, I'm seeing things as I move it around different angles. I think that looks pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with that one. Turned out a lot better than the last one I did. I'm going to make him like hold his arms up a little bit and meet it a little bit. Alright, then we're going to put this back on. And you should have the illusion of slime pouring out of your slime pit. Okay, so there you go. He-Man getting slimed, or whoever you want to slime. And pretty much looks, I mean, you can even see it through the nose like you could back in the day where it looks like it's pouring out of his mouth. So, it's pretty cool. I'm still not happy with this part right here. I'm probably going to trim this up a little bit so it looks like it's flowing that way a little bit. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. But once it dries, it's like a piece of plastic. It just, like one piece. It'd have to be pretty hot to loosen that up again, enough to stick to your figure or anything. But I mean, I wouldn't display it underneath a heat fan or something, but it should be fine. I've displayed one with the old one I did that didn't look as good. I've had it sitting there for about maybe 2 weeks, I guess, and it hasn't stuck to it at all. And this particular one, I didn't get it over his face a little. It almost poured over like he has a hood on. That's the only part I don't like about this one. But like I said, each one's different. The one I did on Beastman, I had it going over his face just a little bit, and that kind of prevented that from happening. But just kind of shape it the way you like it. I'm okay with it. And now you can display your slime pit the way it was meant to be displayed without the mess. And maybe if Mattel does a Masters of the Universe Origins Slime Pit, they'll include something like this, I'm hoping, because it really displays nicely this way. I think it really gives the illusion of slime pouring off of him. And just if you do this, be careful. It can be dangerous as far as burning yourself or something, but other than that, it's not dangerous. It's just that glue does get really hot. So, well, I hope you found this video helpful and interesting. Leave a thumbs up if you like the video, and if you try this, leave me a comment. Let me know how it went. Click in the lower left corner to subscribe if you want to know when I drop new videos, or you can click one of these other links to see some of the other videos I've done. Thanks for watching.